Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 34 of the Memorial Memo KSR's Kentucky Women's Basketball Podcast. It's been a while since it's been like over a month, and that was not my intention at all. Sometimes you get caught doing stuff. Now, to be fair, not as much was happening there in that span of time, but I'm sitting there and I was like, I feel like we should talk about, kind of summer practice, everything that's going on. And I was like, oh crap, it's been a month since I've recorded. Maybe I really need to do a podcast because, oh my goodness, it's been that long. But nonetheless, I'm excited to be back. Things are starting to ramp up, right? Like, you all know I'm a student at UK. I'm heading back, Friday, and that's exciting. It's been a busy time, but nonetheless, I'm excited to be back here on the KSR YouTube channel to talk some Kentucky women's basketball because it's been too long. Kind of the real big newsy thing that's happened since we've been on. We had some changes as far as staff goes. Will Sims, he has been moved to an assistant coach role. And of course, Kendall Dillard, who was an assistant coach, kind of switched roles with Sims, and he's now the director of scouting and program analytics. I think it's more of like an off the court role, but I know they were both on the sidelines last year, so I don't know how much a difference that really makes. I just know as far as contracts and everything go, Will Sims' contract is now publicly available. I don't think Kendall Dillard's is. Source told KSR that this has actually kind of been the plan with these two for a while now. And it's not necessarily like, because I think when you see Will Sims make that move, you kind of look at that as a promotion. And obviously, if he's making that promotion, that almost means Kendall Dillard's getting demoted, right? But I don't think that's the case. I think it's just, I think Kenny I think they're literally just trying to build up those two guys' resumes. And it's kind of as simple as that. And so, excuse me, I think Will Sims being moved up to assistant coach, I don't think that's, or Kendall Dillard being moved to that role, I don't think that's anything like, I don't think there's too much to think about there other than it's just an interesting thing to see. I mean, I know from just watching him practice, both Dillard and Sims work really hard with the players. You have the practice guys, obviously, but then you have those two as well, kind of helping work with everybody. So it's not a Chin Coleman situation where he's just there, just collecting a paycheck to go to Jeff Ruby's every now and then. He's actually kind of doing his job. And actually, the staff hire that I really like, Kentucky hires Taylor Soule as a program assistant. Now, what's fun about this one is that, okay, so when I first got into women's basketball, this is just a little story, and this is just fun for me. When I first got into women's basketball, it was around that time Virginia Tech was in the Final Four. Because you had Virginia Tech, you had Caitlin Clark, LSU, Angel Reese, NC State, I think, was maybe the other team in the Final Four. But I remember watching that, and I'm sitting there, and yes, of course, Chin Coleman is taking strays in the women's basketball podcast because Chin Coleman was his swim cap was the most useful thing he did here because it gave us a great meme. I'm a Chin Coleman hater. Okay, maybe not like Drew Franklin levels of Chin Coleman hater, but I'm up there because there's nothing I can't stand less than some bum sitting on the sidelines and is collecting a paycheck and not doing any. All right, like at least Chuck Martin was outside of the practice facility taking phone calls and looking like he was busy, right? Like at least he was doing that much. I don't know what Chin was doing at all. But back to women's basketball, the actual purpose of this podcast. When I got into women's basketball, I'm watching Virginia Tech because they're in the Final Four. I'm watching their game, and I'm just watching, and, Angel Reese is playing. That's cool. Georgia Amore, we know her. But then there's this other girl, and she's just hooping. And I'm like, who is this? And the announcer's like, oh, Taylor Soule. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. And for me, it's just almost like cool because it's like a full circle, like, oh, now she's at Kentucky. I got to say, I tweeted it out when it was originally announced. This is a lot better than Tyler Eulis going to Arkansas. All right, just because who wants to see Tyler in that ugly red? Like Taylor Soule in the Kentucky blue, having a player like her, we see it's on the graphic, 4-time All ACC. Like she wasn't some scrub playing for Kenny. Like she was really good. The only reason she's not playing in the pros right now is because she's rehabbing an injury. Taylor Soule is a super great, talented player and mind, clearly, that, she's been around the practice facility for a couple weeks now. I saw her sometime in July during the media day, and I was like, Taylor Soule? What? And then I talked to somebody like, yeah, it's Taylor Soule. You're not hallucinating. So that was interesting to see. But she has an official role within the program now as a program assistant. I think it's going to be super cool because you look at Kentucky and you look at the position that, they have a million wings, a million twos, threes, and fours. And Taylor Soule is like perfect to kind of help, in that. And obviously, I think one of the main reasons she's in Lexington is to rehab that injury and kind of, and all of that with her injury. But I think this role as a program assistant is going to be really good for her because, hopefully she's able to get that playing career kind of back and rolling. But if not, she's got a home here now. Obviously she played at Virginia Tech, played at Boston College before that. But, and I'm like, Kentucky, you got the, we see it in the graphic down. Let's see if I can do this right down here. You're a Kentucky Wildcat now. That's just what it is. That's once a Wildcat, always a Wildcat, right? So if, when that playing career does come to a close, hopefully she is an assistant one day down the line or something, and that would be really interesting. But I just think it's so cool for me personally to be like this player who I was like, oh, I like that. I like what they're doing. I like how they play. And now she's at Kentucky coaching. I just think that's really cool. For the third year in a row, Kentucky will be playing USC Upstate. It was announced again in the midst of our little hiatus here, right? Kentucky will play USC Upstate, I believe, on November 12th. There we go. Thank you, Stephen, for the graphics. Sometimes I just forget, Normally I'd have my information pulled up, but today I don't because we're a little unprepared on a Tuesday afternoon. USC Upstate. I mean, that Kyra Elsie team beat the brakes off them. Last year, Kentucky beat them by 55. Is the largest season opening win in program history. Now, while it won't be the opener, it's one of the early non-conference games of the season. There's not too much to make of it other than we're getting one step closer to the schedule being complete. And also, we would have a graphic for this, but this dropped literally 30 minutes ago. We now know when Kentucky's going to play Louisville. And I hate that it's not in December because I'm so used to Kentucky, Louisville being in December. But for the last 2 years, I think Kyra's last year, it was even in December. But this year, November 22nd at the Yum Center. So that'll be interesting. I'm not looking forward to it because Louisville is the biggest dump of a city ever. Actually, I'll take that back. I haven't been to Knoxville or Starkville yet. So I'll at least see how bad those are for myself before I call Louisville the worst city. Maybe it's the third worst city or second worst. Who knows? But I'm not looking forward to going to the Yum Center. But someone's got to cover the team, right? You know what I mean, guys? But Louisville should, they should be good this season. So it's a tough road game, strong non-conference game, obviously, the rivalry there. But November 22nd. And so I think that's the last date that we needed to kind of get the full schedule. I think because I didn't think USC Upstate was going to be on this. I didn't know that was coming. But I think the Louisville date, November 22nd, I think we now have a full schedule. So I would expect, I would say in the coming weeks to get that full schedule release. We'll have a graphic and article coming out about it for, easy convenience for you to read and look at. But I think we pretty much know Kentucky's schedule. So when that officially comes out, expect us to be on here talking about, going undefeated or, whatever we're going to be, whatever the record prediction is, right? Like that. So that'll be exciting. USC Upstate, November 12th, Louisville, November 22nd. Should be fun. Hopefully the Cats go 2-0 in those games for sure. Mimi Thiero, who, of course, is very intriguing to Kentucky fans because of the connection to Kentucky and Adu Thiero and John Calipari and all those wonderful things. She's narrowed her list of schools down to 12, and Kentucky is one of those 12. It's Kentucky, unfortunately, Louisville, Memphis, of course, I believe that's where Almami played, their dad. Mississippi and played under Cal at Memphis, obviously, Mississippi State, Vandy, Florida, Georgia Tech, Maryland, North Carolina, Clemson, Oregon, and Michigan. Now, this is just so interesting to me because I sit there and I look at that list of 12. Guys, a year ago, I don't know if any of those schools had offered her a year ago. I mean, she was getting offers from, like, her best offer was like Columbia, like a really good Ivy League school, but not nothing like those 12. And it's just so interesting to see how her recruitment, and I think I've said this before on here, has just absolutely skyrocketed. I mean, Mimi Thiero is one of the most underrated players in the 26 class, and she already was, but now it's like even as a 4-star, it's like, well, she's kind of being slept on, right? And you can see these high-level programs. I mean, Louisville, North Carolina, Maryland, some of the best programs of the last decade. Mississippi State, who won a title in 2018, like, really, really great programs are now starting to see her. So obviously it's good for her. Kentucky being right in the mix there is great. Mimi told KSR at Run for Roses that she's going to visit during September. I don't know if the date was finalized or if she remembered what the date was, but September is what we know. So I would just circle the whole month of September. I would honestly look for one of, I don't know the UK football home dates off the top of my head, but whatever weeks Kentucky plays at home, I would expect her to visit them. That's usually how they line it up. They'll visit, look at campus, go to a football game. That's usually how that goes. So whatever the home schedule is for Kentucky football in September, like I said, I don't remember those off the top of my head. I don't have it pulled up, but I would expect her to visit one of those weekends. So hopefully, with that visit, that obviously puts Kentucky in a good position. But you just kind of hope to see, you hope to see that 12 become 6 or 5, and then a top 3, and then Kentucky, right? That's what you're hoping. Should be a great piece in the 26 class, considering you lose players like Amelia Hassett and Tiani Key, who, especially Tiani. I mean, I think Mimi is almost not a replica of her, but plays a really similar size, obviously. So getting her to kind of fill those shoes a little bit would be really nice. And then the main thing we're here to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen, is our summer practice takeaways, because kind of throughout the summer on KS Board, I've posted updates of what I'm hearing from practice. But now that summer practice is wrapped up, the players, they've been on a break. They've gone home or gone wherever. I think they're back on campus in like a week. I think the women's team actually just announced that. Yes, Matt G, you missed Chin Coleman jokes. When this is over, you got to go back and listen to them, because we had a fun time grilling Chin Coleman, grilling like his steak over there at Jeff Ruby's. Anyway, summer practice takeaways. I think we had enough Chin Coleman jokes for one podcast. My main kind of takeaway, just early. I say early, but it's obviously summer practice is over. I guess just kind of before the season. Toni Morgan, who is a career 23.5 3-point shooter. She apparently has just, and I've seen it a little bit with my own eyes. I've been to a couple practices. One of the open practices for the media, and I've just been in there a little bit. Other than that, watching Toni Morgan shoot, and from what people are saying, she's improved her shot, and it's just that, right? Like Toni Morgan, 23.5 is not a great number, obviously, but like our shot looks pure. There actually wasn't that earlier in the summer, excuse me. The team posted a video of Toni Morgan shooting. I think it was WT, Wildcats Tongue. If you're on Twitter, you know who I'm talking about. He was like, that's the purest shot form I've ever seen. Like biblically accurate shot form, I think is what he said. And I told him, I was like, you're not going to believe she's not a great shooter. But I think, Kenny, he told me privately, and I don't know if he's mentioned it publicly or not, but I kind of just asked him about it when I was in there one day. Because I saw him working with Tiani Key, and I was like, he was like kind of working on her shot. And I was like, is it just Tiani that you're doing that with? Because I remember you did it with Georgia last year. You just doing that with Tiani this year? And he's like, oh, no, I did it with everyone. Everyone that walked in, I changed their shot. Every single one of them, top to bottom. And I was like, you know what? If it worked with Georgia Amore, I guess it'll work with Tiani Key and the rest of the team, right? So it obviously applies to Toni Morgan as well. Her shot, I mean, it looks great, so I guess that's in part because of Kenny. But yeah, her shooting apparently is just like not off the charts, but I think she could seriously go from shooting 23.5% to maybe somewhere in that 30 to 35% range, which it's not an elite number, but that is a tremendous leap and definitely I think a serviceable number for a point guard whose main thing is driving and then driving and kicking or finishing at the hole, right? So if you can get fairly consistent numbers like that from Tony from 3-point land, I think that's more than you can ask for. I think there is a true shooting guard competition between Josie Gilvin and Dom Perova, but I personally would say Lexi Blue is a real threat to start at the 2 as well. I think it's pretty clear at this moment in time. Tony Morgan's going to start at point guard. Jordan Obi is going to start most likely at the 3, but there's a world where they could slide her down to the 2. Tiani Key is going to start at the 4, and Claire Strack's going to start at the 5. So it's really just a matter of who's going to be the 2, and if they slide Jordan to the 2. Well, if they slide Jordan to the 2, I think Amelia Hassett almost certainly starts at the 3. But assuming that they keep Jordan Obi at the 3, who do they start at the 2, right? And I think it's a real competition between Jordan, Dom, and Lexi Blue. Or, excuse me, Josie, Gilvin, Dom Perova, and Lexi Blue, not Jordan. Anyway, from what I've heard, Dom is just super impressive. Obviously, we've said it a bunch. You don't just get a sweet, a sixth man on an Elite 8 team and, don't play them. Obviously, they can play. She's, shot, I think, 37% from 3 in her freshman year at Oregon State. She can shoot the ball. Josie Gilvin, I think, is better defensively, but maybe not quite as good a shooter as Dom Perova. But Lexi Blue, I think I think this summer, if you look at a player and you're like, who improved the most this summer, it may be Lexi Blue. And I didn't know if I was honestly expecting that this summer. I mean, just from talking to people, and we talked to her at Media Day, watching her play, I don't think we realize how, when freshmen come in, just how upside down their world is, right? How much they are going through, because you got to think, just outside of basketball, right? They're moving away from home. For her, she moved from Orlando, Florida. That's a 13-hour drive. I don't know if she drove, but you know what I mean? That's a long way away from home. That's like a 1,000-mile trip from home. Getting acclimated in a new city. What do I eat? Little stuff like that outside of basketball that can kind of throw you off, get you out of your comfort zone. She didn't have the most productive year last year, obviously, but I think, when we talked to her, you're like, hey, so what did you think of your freshman year? And she's like, oh, I thought it was great. And you're like, okay, well, that's probably just her, media training answer or whatever. She's like, no, I learned a lot and I got comfortable. And I was like, oh, it's great. So I was like, what's one word to describe how you're feeling heading into this season? And there's a video on the YouTube channel about, from Media Day when I asked her. And I was like, so how, what's one word to kind of just describe how you're feeling? I kind of expected her to be like, oh, I'm excited, or I can't wait, or whatever. She said, I'm confident. Oh, confident. Okay. That's a different word. I like that. Confident. And she was just explaining how man, I was able to get, like I said, I got used to being in Kentucky. I'm not starting from scratch. I kind of know the system. I know my role. I've been working on my shot, been working on defense. I think we're finally going to see where Lexi Blue, top 40 recruit. I think you're going to start to see that this season. Whether she starts or doesn't, I think she's going to play some very big, meaningful minutes. I would say 20 a game at 20 a game at minimum, but this is obviously a super deep and talented roster. But regardless, I think when Lexi Blue is on the court, she's not going to look like a deer in the headlights, right? She is going to be ready to contribute, going to be ready to, again, provide those meaningful minutes. And I'm just excited to see that. Obviously, like I said, last year wasn't statistically not a great year for her, but I think year 2 can definitely be a lot better. And it sounds like not only she, but the people around her are very confident about how she's going to play this season. I think Jordan Obi has kind of been the most eye-opening kind of player on this year's team so far through summer practice. And it's not, because you look at her tape at Penn and you're like, man, she's really good. I mean, 3-time All-Ivy. Look at her averages, 14, 7, and like 40 or 38% from three. Like, she can hoop, right? But I think the obvious question with her was always, but can she hang in the SEC? Can she play with the big dogs, right? And she is not only physically transformed herself, but just as a basketball player, just completely like, I just smacked my mic out of the way. Just completely revamped her game almost. Like, she is, you look at her and someone compared her to Ron Howard physically. Now, obviously, Ron Howard is literally a once-in-a-lifetime talent, but just kind of look at like their skill sets and things they do and their physicality. Like, Jordan Obi's kind of giving off Ron Howard vibes. And obviously, again, when you compare anyone to Ron Howard, you're doing something good. I think there's a real shot Jordan Obi is an all-SEC player heading into the season. Just looks really good. I watched her do a workout one day, just a little small individual workout, and I was super impressed just watching that. I was like, okay, Jordan Obi, like, I see you, girlfriend. Like, put that ball in the hoop. You know what I mean? Like, she looked good. So that's going to be really exciting. Again, whether she starts at the 2 or the 3, again, I would expect it to be the 3, but I think there is kind of like that chance she starts at the 2 and they slot Amelia at the 3, which obviously is your most experienced lineup. You're probably your most biggest, strongest, and most physical lineup. But whether she starts at the 2 or 3, she's going to play meaningful minutes, obviously, probably 30, 35 minutes a game, and she's going to hoop and hopefully be all SEC, because I think that's kind of, I don't know if that's the expectation, but that's certainly the hope, and it's not some kind of like pipe dream. Like, I think that's something that can really happen. Speaking of all SEC, Claire Strack and Tiani Key, they've only gotten better. Tiani, she's a lot, I don't want to say leaner. I do, but I don't, because I feel like when I say Tiani Key got leaner, I'm almost implying that she wasn't lean before. She obviously was, but she just looks a little bit leaner, a little bit stronger, right? Claire Strack, her jumper's gotten better, kind of in the same way Toni Morgan's has. Maybe not the greatest three-point shooter, but she can shoot it. Like, I know last season the thing with Claire Strack is I remember talking to a fan one time before a game, and they're like, man, I hope Claire Strack don't make her first shot. And I remember thinking, well, that's weird. Why would you say that? And he was like, well, because if it's a 3, she's going to shoot 10 of them and go 1 for 10. And I was like, well, all right. Well, I guess I can't disagree too much with that. That's kind of funny, but wow. All right. But I think this season, she makes that first 3, maybe she can make 2 or 3 more after that and kind of pile on, right? I think her jumper was tweaked a little bit. I think Tiani, obviously I was talking about her jumper being tweaked, but I think both of them, I think the expectation for them is to be all SEC. If I'm ranking the best players on the team, it's probably Claire Strack and then probably Tiani Key and then probably Jordan Obi, but it may be a 2A, 2B kind of situation there. Or, you think about Toni Morgan, who I just left out because, I don't know if that's a 2A, 2B, 2C, or if they're all just 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, who knows, right? Like, there's just a lot of talent on this year's team. But those two specifically have gotten a lot better. Kind of in the same light as Lexi Blue, Amelia Hassett just looks a lot more comfortable. I think she's expressed that even in like interviews she's done with media. Like, she just feels more comfortable. She's going to be, I don't know if it's necessarily less playing time, but she's going to move to a role where the pressure is not on her as much to produce. You think about last year, like, she was going through walking pneumonia, I think, as what she told Jack on his radio show he does on Sundays with Larry Vaught. Like, I think she had walking pneumonia, and I don't know, like, is there sitting pneumonia? Like, I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but it just, pneumonia, that's not great. I thought it was the flu when it originally happened. I don't know if those are kind of the same. I'm not a doctor. I just talk hoops. Sorry, I don't know. But dealing with that sickness and having to play 35 minutes a game and, guard the other team's best player, rebound, shoot the ball. Like, she went through it, and you can kind of tell towards the end of the season, like, she just wore down. I think the main thing this season is, all right, we know you can do great things. We just don't want you to wear down. And so they're going to, not baby her, but they're going to be like, all right, some of this pressure is off your shoulders. We have more bench players. We have more capable starters. It's not all going to be on you, Amelia. So whether she starts or doesn't start, I think she can be a great 6th or 7th man. But again, whether she starts or not, the main thing with Amelia, she looks more comfortable. Her shot still looks really good. I watched her in practice. I think I watched her make like 20 straight threes one day, so that's exciting. And that's over one of the practice guys. That's not just her standing in a corner by herself. So again, Amelia, it's just so exciting thing about this team because I've rambled on about all these players, and it's like they're all going to be really good this season, and that should be fun to watch. I know for me, and I think this applies to a lot of fans, you're always intrigued about, who's the best shooter? Who's going to light it up from three? The answer this year, ladies and gentlemen, is Asia Boone. She shot, I think, 38% at Liberty last season, but everything I've seen with my own eyes, everything I've been told, Asia Boone is just knocked down. The way people talked about Kobe, I always go to men's basketball because I think about people like me or fans like me who are getting into the game of men's basketball but have been familiar with the men's game for so long, right? So I go to men's basketball because I feel like it's an easy kind of comparison to make. Obviously, it's basketball. It's still the same sport. It's just different people playing, right? Like you think about Kobe Bryant playing, or when he came in, how excited people were about his shooting. Kind of the same thing with Asia Boone. Now I don't know if she's going to be best 3-point shooter in the country like he was, but definitely best shooter on the team. When you need a three, Asia Boone's your answer. And I think the expectation with her is that she's going to play a lot of backup point guard behind Toni Morgan, but she can also fill in some minutes at the 2, which is her more natural position. It's actually really interesting. I wrote an article about it, talked to her about it. Deja Lawrence, who should be heading to overseas sometime soon, like any minute now, I would think. For her pro career, she's been in Lexington, just kind of hanging around, and she's been helping Asia Boone kind of make this transition in the backcourt, which I think is really cool, right? Because think about Deja Lawrence, like obviously super lovable, like just a great kid. I say kid, but she's older than me, but just great player, great person. Well, she sticks around, and it's like, you're only here for 1 year, but, clearly that 1 year meant a lot. And she's helping Asia Boone, kind of helping, she's not an official role with the team, so she can't do a ton, but like she's in practice. And like I was told one day, and I think Asia, and it wasn't source tells KSR, it was Asia there in the media interview. And she was like, yeah, me and Deja had a really intense workout one day. And she got on me a lot. And I was like, that's actually freaking awesome to hear. Because, like, hopefully that just makes Asia that much better because Deja was really good. So, obviously, if you can get similar production out of her in a backup role, I mean, hey, I'll take that any day of the week. Kaylin Carroll, Kentucky's 5-star freshman. I don't know. I doubt she starts. I doubt she plays 30 minutes a game or anything, but she's going to contribute. She can score. I don't think there's much concern about her ability to put the ball in the hoop at the SEC level. It's just a matter of, okay, can those young legs guard SEC caliber players? Can you hang on defense? And so I think that's kind of been a focus for her this summer. Can Kaylin Carroll hang with them on the defensive side of the ball? So I think she'll contribute. It's just a matter of she'll earn her minutes. She'll earn more and more minutes through her defense, right? So we'll kind of just see. I'm sure in the non-conference she'll look like $1 million because pretty similarly like Clara Silva last year, lesser competition, get your feet in the water, get settled in. But it's just a matter of during SEC play, how much minutes is Kaylin Carroll going to play. But I think the expectation is that she's going to contribute, right? I would say going to I would say 10, 15 minutes a game off the bench, right? If I had to guess, maybe 20. And I think you'll take that, especially from a freshman and one as talented as her. Speaking of freshmen, Elsa Vadfors, who 6'5" Swedish freshman, just got to campus not that long ago, a couple weeks ago. I don't mean this in a bad way, but there's only so many ways you can spin things, right? I think she's just a bit of a project. And I think that was to kind of be expected. I don't think anyone expected her to be, competing with Clara Strack for the starting five. Like, I think the expectation for Elsa Vadfors is that, okay, that we're going to have to develop this kid, right? But I think that's been evident. I haven't checked in, obviously they're on that break, so I haven't checked in the last couple days. But from what I know, like, the rest of the team, so this summer they started with individual and small group workouts, and now they're doing team stuff. Well, since Elsa's arrived, she's only been doing individual stuff still, as far as I know. I guess that could be slightly outdated information, but as far as I know, from when I last checked in, that's kind of how it is, right? So, Elsa Vadfors, someone told me they're hoping she can play like 10, 15 minutes a game by her sophomore, junior year. So I think that's kind of where you're looking. I think with Elsa, man, you just kind of hope she sticks around. She should be a good practice body for Clara Strack, so that's nice. But yeah, I wouldn't expect Elsa Vadfors to come in and start dunking on people or anything. Like, it's going to be a minute with her progression, but she could be a solid backup, a really solid 6th, 7th man, hopefully next year or her junior year, kind of down the line. And then my last thing, which isn't specific to any player necessarily, it's just kind of about the team as a whole. Number one, the culture is great. I've been in there. I'm not going to ramble on about it too much, but there's just a real genuine culture of, okay, we're going to win and we're going to win the right way. And we're, family atmosphere, all those things that Kenny Brooks preaches about. You can see it. Like, it's not some lie, or it's not some thing Kenny says to the media to get on people's good side. Like, it's a genuine thing. But just from talking to staff, players, mainly people around the program, there is a real genuine belief, and this isn't me sunshine pumping or anything. There's a real genuine belief that Kentucky is like a borderline top 10 team. And I think for Kentucky, the goal this year, well, it's pretty clear what the goal is within the team. After practice, they say SEC champs on 3, right? Like, look at 1, 2, 3 SEC champs, and they dismiss or whatever, right? That's clearly the goal within the team. Tiani Key has talked about, we want to chase a national championship. Like, I want a ring, whether it be SEC, national title, or both. I want a ring. They purposefully, I'm pretty sure this is purposely. I don't think I'm just being a cornball when I say this. And the practice facility, there's the 1982 banner, the 2012 regular season banner, SEC regular season banner, and the 2022 SEC championship banner. I think they purposefully left an empty space next to the 2022 one to be like, all right, we're hanging another one. Like, I talked to someone. I think they actually did that on purpose, and I'm not just like corny and I'm like, woohoo, another empty space for another banner. Like, I think that's actually like what they envisioned when they did that, which is obviously pretty sick. It's super exciting to hear the way people are talking about the team. Again, you think about Kentucky, borderline top 10. Well, that kind of puts you in the Elite 8 picture. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that Elite 8 is the farthest we've gone when you think about it, right? Like, we've been to 4 Elite 8s, no Final Fours. I know. I can only throw so many jabs at Tennessee and men's basketball because I think about UK women's basketball. I'm like, well, crap, right? But I think the goal for this team, one, SEC champs, right? take a swing at it, see what you can do. But when you get to the NCAA tournament, there is a very real goal. All right, let's get to the Sweet 16. We lost in the second round. We're literally 1 4-foot floater away from making it to the Sweet 16. So I think internally you're like, all right, let's get there. Let's get to the tournament. Let's win these. Hopefully we can host again, get to the Sweet 16. And once you get there, once you kind of get to that point, it's see what you can do, right? It's, okay, can we win this game and go the furthest we've ever gone in the Elite Eight? And then can we set a new standard and get to a Final Four? And then whatever happens there, it's one bounce of the ball and maybe you're in a title game or something like that. But regardless, I can tell you for a fact, and I know Kenny feels this way because he said it to me privately, whatever. If it weren't for this team being in the SEC, if they were in any other conference, the ACC, wherever, this team's probably a favorite to win the conference, right? But he feels, the team feels, everyone kind of around the program feels like y'all are sleeping on us. Like, y'all don't realize how good we are. Now, I don't think that's like a cocky, like, I don't think it's a cocky, like, misplaced kind of feeling. I think it's just uber confidence in the fact, like, we're really good. We know we're good. And we're just going to go do our thing and go try to win ball games, try to be SEC champs, and maybe make a run in the tournament, right? I think when you talk to people in and around the program, when I talk to them, there's not any like, okay, let's see what we can do. It's like, no, we're gonna go do it, And there's a fine line in that, and so that, ladies and gentlemen, to me is the most exciting part of it all. I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this episode here. 36 going on 37 minutes, and pretty good. My throat's feeling it a little bit. I haven't talked on KSR YouTube channel in that long. Social media is right there. Steven, how do you like my graphic? You like the little X, Instagram, and TikTok? I did that.
I'm a big fan.
Big fan.
It looks good.
And know what I'm a big fan of, Steven? The KSR YouTube channel, 50.6K subscribers. We need to get that to, let's see, hold on. How would I do those numbers? 65.0, and then let's get 100. Everyone on Earth subscribe to the KSR YouTube channel. Okay, like that's what I'm talking about.
If we can get everyone on Earth, I think we're in good shape. I'll take everyone in Kentucky.
Everyone in Kentucky. What is it, like 4 million people? Let's get all 4 million people in the Bluegrass state on board. Every member of Big Blue Nation on board. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Episode 34 now of the Memo. It will not be a month before I'm back on. I will go ahead and say that now. I'm actually next episode hoping to get a guest on, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. We will see you guys next time.